Hi guys, welcome back to the channel, welcome back to the Retro Wrestling Room. We are here with another very special guest today, one of, and if not, the breakout star within the deathmatch scene within the last couple of years. I'm really excited for this because he is set out to have a very impressive 2025 as well. It is the current WrestleRave World Heavyweight Champion, the Russian Deathmatch Jesus. We have the one, the only, Dimitri Alexandrov on the channel. How's it going, man?
Hey, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it, man. This is exciting.
Yeah, definitely. Well, we've wanted you on for a while, so yeah, I'm glad we managed to get our schedule sorted and we managed to get you on the channel today.
Yeah, the chaoticness of trying to line up and everything like that, man.
Oh,
I'm glad we can make this happen. I'm glad we can make it all work out.
we just mentioned offline that we're both coming down in very different ways from the WrestleMania week, the biggest week of the year in wrestling. How did WrestleMania week go for you?
Fantastic. I did 6 shows uh
Wow.
over the course of 3 days and 7 matches within all that. So it was quite a bit, and three of them being death matches. It a lot of blood loss in a short period of time, but I'm doing better. I'm okay. Just like I said, getting over my WrestleMania hangover, putting fluids back in my body, getting ready to do it again next weekend.
So, going back right to the start, how did you first get into wrestling? I know the answer, and I wanted to ask you because it's one of the most unique ways I've ever heard of somebody getting into wrestling. So let the viewers know this crazy story.
Yeah, so I have an older brother. He used to tape the USA Network from the 80s. So he's about 10 years older than me. And what he would do was he would tape the USA Network for the cartoons that would happen every Saturday morning, commercials and all. So I would see all this stuff from the 80s, and I was obsessed with the GI Joe show, and I was really into the character Sergeant Slaughter, which had no idea that was a actual wrestler, just thought that was a cartoon character. And the commercials, they come on, of course, and in case you get one for Superstars, and I'm like, what is this? This is intense, and it ends with Sergeant Slaughter on there, and he's saying, tune in, watch Saturday Morning Superstars, and that's an order. And my 4-year-old mind, this is 1994, granted, my 4-year-old mind is blown away. I'm like, he's real? He's real? What is this? So I find wrestling. I'm like, this is like real life Street Fighters, what I think it is. I need more of this. So my parents, of course, being foreign, they had satellite for the first few years of my childhood, and it was to watch football, soccer. And you get the big guide every week. The big guide would come in the mail. A waste of paper if you think about it.
Yeah.
Going through there, I find a channel that's from the Netherlands. That is New Japan Pro Wrestling. 4 years old. First thing I see when I turn on that channel is Jushin Thunder Liger, and I'm like, this is the show where the superheroes fight each other. And I was addicted from then on. I started, looking at everything. It bled into fighting WCW, bled into, fighting stuff from just the new generation WWF and stuff like that. I got super into everything. And then when I got older, I got into tape trading pretty young age. I was like 10 years old doing tape trading and stuff like that. So just kind of like it bled into everything.
Yeah.
And man, I just I don't know. I got really into it, man. And then later, I started going to Ring of Honor shows. And when my brother lived in Chicago, and met Brian Danielson there, and that guy encouraged the shit out of me. And then I eventually said, "That guy's cool as hell. Why not be like him?" And now I'm in wrestling doing death matches, which isn't exactly like him, but and here we are now.
So when did you start to get into the deathmatch scene? Like as a fan
So
now.
as a fan, so I liked it because of Mick Foley initially,
Right.
but also I got into those really awful, was it Tokyo Pop dubs of
Yes, the
FMW.
FNW shows, yeah.
I used to be really into those. I was super big into Hayabusa from the get go, and then I liked the fact that he was both a normal wrestler who did death matches too, and I was super into that. And then like Mick Foley in that, and I just like this stuff's cool. I always respected it, but I never thought I would get into deathmatch per se. That certainly wasn't on my my 5-year plan by any means. But I always respected deathmatch, and I was like, this is awesome. I love the fact that these guys can go out there and they do these really high intensity matches, but then they can do these crazy bloody affairs at the same time, and then fuse them together at times too. And I think that's awesome. So then when I actually got into deathmatch, which was just an opportunity by chance, it was just like I took it just because I already respected it and I wanted to do it right, you know.
Did you so like when you first started training then, was that always the goal? Did you know straight away that that was the scene that you wanted to be part of?
Oh no, 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 no. I got into wrestling because I really wanted to do Japanese wrestling and
Okay.
like either King's Road or like strong style wrestling. Those are the kind of wrestlings I gravitated towards, especially in my teens. That 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 style, and of course like the Ring of Honor like 2000s style. Those were the things that I really gravitated towards watching as a fan. And I thought I was going to be more of that guy, and I was for a while in my career, and then one thing led to another.
We had the privilege of having one of your opponents on the channel a couple of weeks ago, the murder surgeon himself, Mr. Dr. Redacted. You two both seem to have this similar trajectory at the moment. You both seem to have like a bit of buzz about you, and you both seem to be like the breakout stars of the last couple of years. What's it like being in the ring with Dr. Redacted?
He's a psychopath. He's an absolute psychopath, and he does some of the wildest things. And I try to kill him as much as I can, and he just keeps getting up. And I'm just like, what do I gotta do to keep him down? And then I keep busting out bigger and bigger things on him. And then sometimes he stays down, and sometimes he gets right back up. And I'm just like, good God, my man.
I got some clips here of the four-way match from Cage of Death that
Yes.
you two were involved in. Being a fan of the deathmatch style and hardcore wrestling, Cage of Death is one of those shows that's got this like big name to it. All these famous YouTube videos from the early days of YouTube and before YouTube. We used to watch these compilations of these Cage of Death shows. What was it like
Yeah.
to be part of a Cage of Death show?
It's wild, man. It was one of those things that's like a lot of the CCW shows like the Cage of Deaths, the Tournament of Deaths, those are like bucket list things for me at this point. And getting a chance to be a part of Cage of Death was wild to me. That we actually got to do it and all, like it was like this is happening. I can't believe this. So it was definitely a big deal for me.
I think the first thing Dr. Redacted said when I asked him the same question was, that venue was really cold.
Oh my
That's the
God.
first thing that came back to him. I was like, okay, that's the first thing you thought of? Okay.
It was freezing, and then I don't know if he told you the a lot of those light tubes outside were absolutely been sitting out in the snow and freezing, and it was just like this. That's why some of them weren't breaking correctly, or like they would break in like a weird way. It was
All
just like,
right. Okay.
oh my God. And I actually in that match I ended up getting stitches because of a spot that happened with the tubes that were frozen being smashed into my chest, and I started squirting out of my shoulder like I was Sexy Eddie or something like that. And I was like, oh God. So the cold was definitely a factor that night.
I guess like you always think of like things can go wrong in deathmatch, especially death
Yeah, yeah.
matches. But I guess things like that, like temperatures on the glass, things like that. People just don't take those into consideration. Wouldn't have thought
No,
that.
no, no, not at all.
What are some of the other things within deathmatch wrestling? Some things that have maybe gone slightly awry in some of your matches.
The only other thing I can say outside of that, I mean, like, yes, you get it. Like the sometimes a tube will cut you in a certain way, and now you have a gash in your
Mm,
forehead right now. That as you can see, I'm
I did
pointing at
notice.
this. But that's like fine. The other one that ever happened to me was a fans bring the weapons match
Mm,
where weapons were not checked at the door, and I told my opponent at the time, I was like, "Hey, just grab something from the crowd and hit me with it," is what I said. And in that moment, you're not looking what you're grabbing. He grabbed this fun noodle that it had like a dinosaur head, but like it had the ability to have spines in the back. So someone had replaced those spines in the back with actual wine glasses. So not like plastic ones, like thick glass wine glasses, and he grabs and just immediately bangs me with it right in the back, and one breaks off and it's stabbed right in my back about this deep into me, and I yoinked it out. I'm like, that hurt, let's just keep wrestling, and I kept wrestling, and it as I look on the ring, I'm like, where's all this blood coming from? And the referee's like, it's from you. You guys got to go home. Oh, I'm okay. Don't worry. Adrenaline obviously was a factor
Yeah,
there.
of course.
Get to the back eventually, and I'm like, oh, this thing is gashing in my back right now. I need to go to the hospital. And ended up getting like 15 stitches with that one. And I was just like, I don't know. That like surprisingly, I say these death matches there's always risk in wrestling in general.
Yeah.
And I'd say I've gotten hurt just as many times in normal matches as I have death matches at this point. So it's just different kinds of injuries. Like I guess there's sometimes you get head trauma from like a bad bump, or like your neck gets compressed in the way from normal wrestling, whereas death matches it's more of like wounds inflicted on you. So it's just different kinds of injuries. That's
Mm.
all.
It's like a big company like AEW has been coming under a bit of scrutiny lately because
Oh
it's
yeah.
been pushing further and further into, I don't even know if it gets as far as deathmatch wrestling, but it's pushing the envelope for national TV standards anyway. We had the Tony Storm versus Mariah May, which kind of pushed it for the women's side. And then
Yeah,
we had
yeah.
spots like the Moxley spot with the spiked bat the other night, which got, yeah. Well, there you go. Even you were wincing. So if you're wincing, it's got to be bad, right?
Right, yeah.
But so like things like that, yes, it's on a national show, but it's also getting so much negative feedback, I guess, from like online discourse. Do you think is that a good thing for the deathmatch scene, or is it seen like as like a negative thing?
I would say it is. There's a way of normalizing it that you have to understand. Like maybe that's not necessarily a good thing, but also, like, okay, I will go back and forth on this
Hmm.
because the Mariah and Tony match I loved. I thought it was great storytelling. I thought they did the right amount for what they need to do. I thought that was a great payoff to the end of their feud. And of course, the stupid the end at the end is so amazing. I love that. It's great. The mock spot, my God, that is like something I would expect to see from like a tournament of death, or like a maybe is something like an IWA Deep South or something. A little. I don't know about that. Uh, and I don't know if they expected it to go that way. I wonder if they thought it was dull enough that it was going to just be like I'm going to suplex you on this, and it's going to be like someone bumping on like like Mick Foley's barbed wire board. Sometimes you bump on that. It's obviously not going to stick into you. I wonder if they thought they were going to get more of that effect,
Mm-hmm.
and they forget that John Moxley is a 250-pound man. I don't know. It just. I think that there is a way to push the envelope without it just being pure shock factor, and I thought that leaned too far into shock factor for me personally.
Mm.
That's all. But then, like I said, the women's was great. I love when they do the arena matches where there's a little bit of blood, and
Yeah.
uh, I love those, and I love like obviously they had the Jericho and Gage death match a few years ago too, which was wild to see on television,
Yeah.
tubes and everything. That was wild, but I thought that was also in the right realm of where to introduce people to deathmatch. It's the shock factor things that I think that might scare your fans away, and I think that's maybe not a good thing for the scene in general.
Is is that barbed wire board something? Oh, sorry, not barbed wire. The spiked board. Is that something that you can ever envision yourself taking?
maybe for something big
Yeah.
and a payday that's quite substantial. You know, the I always look at the Mick Foley scale of is it worth it to what it is kind of scale. I love when he explains that, and he's done it many times. But I agree with it 100%. You know, like, is this worth that? Is the payoff worth the risk and everything like that? You know, and I don't know if I would necessarily take that particular bump and have them sticking like that.
Well,
Oh
I
wow,
remember in that Foley book, the very first one I read all those years ago, and it always stuck out to me that Kawasaki Dream tournament that he did, that infamous one where he faced Funk in the finals.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
he said like when he got back, I think he had a check for something like $300 or something like that, and you're like, oh my god, like three
Yeah.
matches of that caliber, and you're like, that's just insane.
Oh, I hate that. I hate that it was for that little and everything like
Mm.
that. Whereas I've known guys to do way less for get way more. It's just like, good God, really?
I mean, I know it was a long time ago, but still, wow.
Yeah.
um, from watching some of your interviews and things, what I've noticed is that you seem to be quite business savvy as well, and I mean that in a good way.
Oh,
Um,
thank you.
for like things like, well, one thing you mentioned is that talking of money side, you always demand that deposit first. Very, very clever thing to do. But even things like you send out your own t-shirts, you know, instead of
Yeah.
relying on other places to do it, and things like that. Was that something that was like taught to you, or is that something that you picked up while being in the wrestling business?
A little bit of both, actually. I used to be in a band years ago, and I used to immediately handle merch for that too. And it's kind of like I have this kind of do-it-yourself, punk rock, if you will, like mentality of just like taking care of it, like just like being your own boss with things and trying to like it also keeps me on track is the thing like
Mm,
I keeps me busy like focused on things like I need to mail out this, I need to have promo pictures done by this time, I have to do like all these things kind of like in my head that keep me on track because
mm,
like this is my job. I am very very proud of what I'm be able to achieve so far, but I realize I have to keep the ship running and like having that kind of mentality of like you have to do this this and this and it's not relying on anyone else is just way of keeping that ship running in my head.
mm.
And I'm very schedule driven.
Well, I'm glad you said like about the punk rock DIY scene because that's exactly what kind of deathmatch wrestling feels like to me. It's always had this kind of like hardcore mentality. Do you know what I mean? Um,
Yeah.
and yeah, like you say, it's always got this like DIY aesthetic to it, and even things like your social media presence. You know, you said like in this day and age, you've got to get that right type thing. You
Yeah.
can't just you can't just half-ass it these days.
No, 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 not at all. Not at all. It is that itself is a job in its own. Just being like on your social media nonstop, you know, collabing with things, putting things out, putting things up at the right times. You know, like having three different alarms in your phone because you're like, I have to post at this time and this time and this time. Things like that. It can be exhausting, but at the same time, I feel like it's finally in this past few years is rewarding and it's paying off. And it's just, you know, getting through a little bit of the suck to then make this worth it, you know.
At the end of last year, you won the Death Triad 3 tournament. What was that experience like?
Third time's the charm, man. It was wild, you know. I going through the guys in that tournament and even the girl, Angel Blue, shout out to her. Just found out she's having a child. Shout out to her.
Oh, amazing news.
But yeah, yeah, yeah. That whole tournament was a lot of fun. I've for the longest time, you know, Russell Rave is a company that I've kind of like, you know, always tried to make my home base for the most part. And finally getting the opportunity to win the triad after all these years was awesome. You know, fought just some of the toughest guys, and the fact that the Texas deathmatch scene is getting better and better and better. It feels like in the coming years, it's like it feels good that it's starting to pay off. All this hard work and everything in that, because the scene died for a while, and it's been cool to try to like revive it and try to give it that love it had a few years ago when guys like Ruben Steele was there, Masada was there more often, and guys like Aaron and Mercer were even like just doing their best to try to keep it going.
Was there like a main reason that you feel like the scene died, or was it just kind of like one of those things, like in, well, like you said, like in musical scenes as well, and over here, like the British scene, it does just do that.
It ebbs and flows, and it just came at a time when you lost two big ones, and then you started getting some new ones, and then most of those went away, and it was just like me and three guys, it felt like, for a minute there. And in the past few years, it's growing more and more and more, and I'm glad it is. I like I take it as a responsibility. I want to do the best I can for this scene, because I don't want this scene after I'm gone here, especially because I am trying to get up more on a national and global level. I do not want, when I'm gone from this scene, it to just it disappear again. I don't want it to do that. I want to be a reason why K stays up, and then also new talent come up along with it. That's something so important to me, and I don't want it just to be like, I don't know. I definitely just don't want it to go away once I'm gone, if that makes sense. I'm so like I'm a little protective of it. I feel really like I am some kind of like saint to it, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's quite refreshing though, because you do. Luckily enough, on this channel, we've interviewed everybody, and everybody's been lovely and like the nicest people. I seem to have picked really good guests, but you get that in like different scenes in every aspect of life, where people are kind of looking out for number one, and you'll use this until you don't need it anymore, and then you'll forget about it then. Whereas you seem to really have this deep appreciation, not just for Wrestle Rave, but for the whole scene within that area as well.
Yeah, and look, I know you might get to it here in a second, but the other one that started in this past year, a company called Death in the Family,
Mm.
they did that Devil's Due Cup last year, and I know the company is now just doing a little bit. They're going to start doing no ring shows, a little pop up ones here, and they want to do their big event like they did in October this past year. I know that's something that I've been helping out with them, or whether it's finding talent for them and stuff, and just kind of like pushing newer
Mm-hmm.
talent towards them. That's a company that I want to be a part of even after I'm not wrestling anymore, that I want to help like
Mm-hmm.
foster a scene there with them if I can, if it's not just Wrestle Rave or any other local Texas companies. I want to help out with that too. That's just something that it's important to me, like you said, and I don't want to just use this and be like ungrateful for it. I want it to be like, this scene helped me and it can help someone else too, is what I want.
Because even somebody like a Will Ospreay, he's really helping out with Pro Wrestling Eve now, the women's league over here in the UK, and at the moment he seems to be posting and talking about Pro Wrestling Eve as much as he does AEW at the moment. But
I
it's
love
like you
that. I
said,
love that.
like he doesn't have to, but it's because he loves like the UK scene still, and he wants to help out this scene.
That's awesome. I love that about him. That's I just want, I want Texas to have something. It
Of
feels
course.
like Texas has fallen off so many times and then gets back up and falls off and gets back up and falls off. And I just want it to stay there, is at least something that, like, I always talk to, it's kind of funny. A lot of the foreign talent always want to work in Texas because of
Mm,
the Von Erichs or the
of
Funks
course.
or Brody or whatever like that. And I want it to be like, sometimes they'll come over here and I'm like, well, you don't have that, but I kind of want to make it to where you do have that all the time, all the bigger places to work and stuff. Because I know a lot of my friends, whether it was the guys when I was down in Australia or friends that have come over from both Canada and the UK, I want them to know that, like, Texas is definitely one of those places that's awesome, and you can come work here. It's a lot of fun.
We mentioned that win at the Death Triad 3 tournament. Tournaments in death matches especially have always had this like big thing about that. It's like a massive part of that scene. Going back to, well, we mentioned the Japanese ones in the 90s, and they probably go back even further and further. But there are so many big deathmatch scene tournaments, like with infamous names. Like there's like Tournament of Death. There's the GCW and the Tournament of Survival. There's so many. How many do you want?
NGI, you know,
Yeah.
all those King of the Deathmatch. Yeah.
King of the Deathmatch. There's the Nick Gate one. There's so many with like these infamous names. But like, how many do you want to be a part of this year now?
All of them. I had a post I made, I think, last year, and I'm going to continue with this year. I want to be in as many deathmatch tournaments as possible. I was told that by a person a year ago that the biggest problem with me is I don't wrestle in enough deathmatch tournaments, and I want to say, all right, you're on. And I want to just like if they got bigger names, that's even better. You know, I want to just show that I will get in there and I will overperform. I will keep going and going and going. And like multiple rounds, it does not bother me. I will just, I literally will like be the Energizer Bunny in their tournament. I will just keep going and going and going.
How many tournaments, like, do you think is like feasible within the year? Because obviously, like, deathmatch wrestling, it takes a lot if you're just like having the one match. But if you've got to say plan for if you're doing well in the tournament, so you've got to have 3 of those matches per tournament. You know, how many do you think is almost like feasible for somebody to do?
Reasonably, I think I could, like, for myself at least, I feel like if I'm doing at least 2 rounds, let's just say that, I think I could at least do 8 or 9 a year. Easily. I think that's feasible. And there's a certain level of I'll show you energy that comes into me when I go into one of these things. And I probably am my mind is not agreeing with my body, and I will just try to push myself through it. So maybe that's not the best way of grading how I should handle these tournaments, but I definitely, whether it's adrenaline or just this I'll show you attitude, I could probably do as many as it takes, because I just like I have something to prove, and I want to make it well known that I am not just a flash in the pan. I want to go all out on these things.
How do you like prepare yourself for a tournament though? Do you have to do anything like different, like compared to like say you just had like a normal death match? That sounds crazy, but we'll throw it out there. There's nothing normal about it. But if you had to have like a normal death match and then like prepare yourself for a tournament, is there anything you got to do differently?
I definitely do a lot more cardio leading up to it, and with my training and whatnot, and just get myself ready for that. Outside of that, it's I do my usual ritual of taking a pump formula instead of a pre-workout, mixing it with an energy drink as my instead of water. I shake that up, I chug that, and I go out there and I listen to some music. I just get myself in this weird zone of like, here we go, I'm going to war, and I'm not afraid of it.
We've mentioned like the I jumped ahead then. We mentioned the US scene, but the Japanese deathmatch scene is something like this legendary thing. How much do you want to go to Japan and take part within their scene, whether it be in the BJW shows or, you know, just all these crazy different things that they've got over there? And when are we going to get the dream match of you versus Junkasai in Korakuen Hall?
Oh, you've done the research on this.
Yes.
Yes, thank you. The Japanese deathmatch style, Japanese wrestling in general, that is 100% my goal. Japanese wrestling is my favorite thing in the entire world. Japanese deathmatch, my favorite subgenre of deathmatch wrestling.
Mm.
I more than anything, I just want to work for BJW, for Freedoms,
Mm.
for like 0-1, any of those. I would love to work for, and just wrestling Korakuen Hall. I always tell people this: my goal is to not only go do a Japan tour, but at least do two. I always say, because then it says not only were you good enough to get there, you're good enough to get brought back too. And that's like that's the measuring stick I see is is a worker, is like I want that on my resume. I want to be like, I've been to Japan multiple times, I wrestled the best. I mean, like, I feel like I'm within the next few years of doing this. I feel like I can do this. I just just got to keep pushing along, keep doing the big matches and stuff, and hopefully this will come to me in the next year or two, because like I need this. It's like it's such this driving factor is working in Japan for me. I have to do it.
Can you envision yourself doing like a longer period over there, or do you think it will be just like these like smallish tours but going back and forth?
Uh, Either or, actually, I could see
Mm.
myself. I would love to do a like multiple month stay in Japan, or just do a month on, month off kind of mentality like they've had in the past. Because I think either or, I could do very easily. It's like Japan is one of those cultures that I would just immerse myself into, and just like, whether it's like going there and like not just like the people and stuff, but like the mentality with training and with the work rate is something that I want to just dive headfirst into. And whether I'm there for a short burst or there for a long period of time, I feel like I'm going to go deep into that, and I want to show that I will do anything for it.
Do you think the deathmatch scene is going to be something that you're always going to be a part of, or do you think like because you mentioned like when you were growing up you lived like that strong style and like the King's Road and everything and those ROH classic years. Do you ever see yourself going like more down that route, trying that style as well, or do you think you'll maybe just incorporate some of those aspects into like a death match?
I would ultimately like to be a hybrid wrestler who does both.
Mm.
Ultimately, that's all I would like to do. I know that deathmatch has taken off a little more for me than say normal, the strong style and stuff like that. That being said, I've gone through there and had awesome matches with likes of like BK, one called Manders and stuff like that, where we're just like Gary J, guys like that, where we're going out there and just having the good strong style matches, and I love that. And I don't want to just, if I stick to one like little area, where if I only do death matches, or if I only do normal matches, I will get bored. So I kind of need the ability to do both. And I do love deathmatch wrestling. I really do. That's one reason why I always lean towards Big Japan, because they do have the two separate divisions. And I think that's so awesome when it comes to Big Japan, that they let guys kind of do both. Like, look at some of the guys they've had in the past. Daisuke Sakimoto is a guy who's done both. Ishikawa, like he did so much of both. Hell, he went over to then All Japan and won the Triple Crown, despite being the deathmatch king of Big Japan. Stuff like that. I That's the kind of stuff I want to be like. Be able to be that guy who can crossover. I would love to be the crossover guy who could do both.
Um, Obviously, being from Wales, I've got a real soft spot for Drew Parker, because
That's my
we have
boy. That's my boy. I
we
love
have
him.
to. If I haven't, I'm not actually sure. If you cross paths with Drew very often in the ring?
No, I will say this: Drew is my number one non-Japanese deathmatch opponent I want to have.
Oh, really? Okay.
I respect the ever living shit out of Drew Parker. I think the fact that he went over to Japan and won everything in deathmatch over there is incredible to me. I think he's like, he also has that kind of hybrid style too, where he's can both be an effective deathmatch wrestler or an effective just standard wrestler. I love that about him. I think that is awesome, and I would honor the day I get to share a ring with him, because I think he is just phenomenal.
Uh, like it was horrible a few years ago when we thought he was going to retire.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, because well, I guess for you, you kind of maybe you thought that match was gone, out the window. But yeah, we're so glad to actually see him back on the scene now.
Yeah, it's awesome seeing him. I think Drew does you guys well in Wales.
Yes.
He's great. He's so good. So hopefully I get to wrestle him. I'm glad he's back because I'm selfishly like I really want that match so bad. So
Another scene that's brewing out, and I've seen loads of their videos online, is like the Russian deathmatch scene.
yes.
Kind of like the Blood and Sand shows I've started to watch. What are your thoughts on that scene over there?
I love Alex Naive and
Mm,
I really love Piper Sweet. I think those
mm,
two are so fun to watch. I of course watched a lot of Blood and Sand, and it is amazing. It is so much fun to watch. I I I want to I want to work with either of those guys, any of those guys. I think it sounds so much fun, and I see what they do, and I see how sick they get, and I'm fucking into it. So
mm.
yeah, Naib's back too. I don't know if you noticed that he took some time off because he had a tumor in his head. So
No,
he's
I did.
actually back now, and now I'm like, Naib, get over here. Yeah, come on, motherfucker, let's go. So
D- I think I know the answer, but do you think do you think you'd be welcomed into the Russian scene?
I'd love to be. I obviously there's some political climate things that
Yeah,
can change for a lot of reasons. It's a little different when you are myself
of
with
course.
that. But hopefully that all gets cleared up in the next few years because either they come here or I go there. I would do it because I've actually not got a chance to go to the motherland in my adult years. I've only been as a child, so it would be great to go there actually.
Are there like do you know of any other like big scenes around Europe, like in that part of Europe?
No, I'm actually it's a blind spot for me. You know,
No, same. Yeah.
I know of a few years back there was a Ukrainian company that had a little bit of buzz, but I couldn't tell you the name of it immediately offhand outside of like just watching the Blood and Sand videos
Yeah.
of that area.
It's weird, isn't it? Because we get like these little hot pockets all around the world, and then there just seems to be massive areas where there just seems to be nothing, or even if there is something, like we just don't seem to hear about it.
Yeah, yeah, it's interesting how like I know every country has wrestling if you think about it.
Mm.
Like that's something, and occasionally you can deep dive and find things like that because I think that's how like people have found. I was the company that Aaron Williams and them went to. Was that in Hungary? I think it was. I can't remember now. I know there was some of the U.S. guys like the guy who's very famous for the funny old vet. I don't know what's his name. Oh my
Oh
god, he
right,
makes
yeah.
what's his damn name? I love him. He went with some guys, and I think they went over to like Hungary and Romania,
Mm.
and they did a little tour there and teaching guys. And I was like, that's awesome. And I'm like, well, when you think about it, every country has wrestling,
Mm.
so it's like more US or any Canada or anyone could just start going to these little countries
Mm.
and finding wrestling there and giving eyes on it if you
Yeah.
think, you know. So it's I don't know, it's I know like America, Mexico, Canada, UK, Germany and Japan are like the countries that we think of when you think where wrestling is, but you know every other country has to have it too.
Mm.
So they just need some like light shined on them, you know.
Exactly. Luckily, that's what we try to do on this channel.
Yeah.
Like I've been luckily enough to interview some people from a scene in Singapore, and
Oh, okay.
they're like trying to build their own scene. And
That's
all these
awesome. I
different
love that.
pockets around the world. It's great to see because we had a female wrestler called Super P on the channel, and she's from the Philippines, and they didn't have a scene there at all. Even though they had people like who were known to be from the Philippines or have Filipino heritage, that they kind of looked up to, but they didn't have a scene there. So even things like they had to build their own rings and things like that.
Oh
And
wow.
I just find things like that just so fascinating, that they just love wrestling that they've seen and they're trying to emulate it in their own home
Yeah,
countries.
building the ring, that's just wild to me, because you gotta think, like, not everyone's trying to ship a high spots ring across the ocean. Come on, guys.
Exactly. Exactly.
That's wild. I love that.
The way the story was, they don't even like dismantle it. They just literally push it into the corner and bring it back out.
Oh no.
I was like, oh, that can't be good, but it works for them.
All right, heck yeah, whatever works. A lot of wood. I feel like you're replacing pads and wood a lot if you do
Yeah.
that. But you know what? I love hearing though about, like, they're making it happen. They're like, we want wrestling to happen here, so we're gonna make it happen. That's cool as hell. I love that. I love hearing that stuff.
My wife has begged me to ask you a certain question, and it's because on this channel we along with the interviews, we also review matches that Dave Meltzer has rated 5 stars, right? And we
Okay.
always go back and forth to see if we agree with them. And we're both super positive, so we, even if we don't agree, it's never mudslinging at him. We just don't agree with it or whatever.
Sure, sure.
And one of those matches was actually the match we mentioned earlier, that Tony Storm, Mariah May win. And we both loved that match. But we both argued, in a nice way, obviously, but we argued over what we thought was more painful in a death match. And you'll definitely be able to tell us, is it thumbtacks or glass? Which one, if they were stuck in your back, is the most painful?
I honestly think it's thumbtacks.
Ah,
In
she won.
hindsight, I think it's thumbtacks. I was just like, because there's times I don't even realize I have glass in my back, and
Okay.
there are times when I've had uh there was a while there on the deathmatch scene for a minute where they kept buying these longer thumbtacks from Amazon, because I know promoters are just being cheap. Not no shade thrown at them for that, but they would sell these thumbtacks that were just a little bit longer, and if you bumped on them, sometimes they would snap off,
Oh,
and then
no.
you'd have to have someone come in with tweezers and pull them out. And no shade at promoters for trying to save a little money, I understand, but that experience probably put the thumbtacks higher up than glass for me right then and there.
No, okay. I just won't show her this part of the interview now because she won. No, no. I'll have to edit it out.
Sorry. Glass, it's so bad. Yeah.
See, Vicky?
Edit that in right there.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, that's just the same clip. We'll have to edit it just for that, just for the beginning. She'll watch that bit. I'm not watching the rest. Um, in deathmatch wrestling, and before we let you go tonight,
Sure.
Deathmatch wrestling, you've always kind of got to stay innovative, because you know things that were brand new 5 years ago become old hat and over relied on. And you actually had a match, and the name of it kind of stuck out to me, and that was the Dry Ice Death Match.
Yes.
What was that experience like? Because that just seemed like something that I wouldn't have even thought of to include into a match.
Miserable. Dry ice. A lot of that was, so I'd seen the idea obviously from some of the time. There's a handful of them in Japan that have happened,
Okay.
and I got the idea is like, why don't these get used in the United States more often? And there's a handful that have been done in the United States, and a lot of it was, let's do this. Let's change it up. I don't want to rely heavily so much on glass. Let's do it. And oh my gosh, it was a learning experience per se. Taking the almost like the sprinkled out bit, like right there, like it's like the thumbtack bump into it that gets you so bad. Like you have to, there's certain things you have to do, and I took as many precautions as I could, but there's probably more we could have done it for that one.
I guess there's certain things within death matches that kind of the effect doesn't match the pain factor, and vice
Yes.
versa. What are some of the things that may look like they hurt a lot but don't, and then some things that doesn't really have the same effect but absolutely kill?
Things that don't that look like they hurt that they don't. Tubes. I don't think tubes hurt all that much. It's wild to me. Maybe I'm numb to it. I That is one thing. To a degree, panes of glass I don't think hurt nearly as much as you think they would. Sometimes.
Mm.
That being said, I've hit a thick one here and there, and those are brutal on you. But for the most part, I'd say that. Uh, in the other camp though, of things that like don't look like they would hurt but are way more painful, thumbtack strips. That is
Mm.
something where it is miserable. It may not look like much because you don't bleed, but it is horrible. I hate them. I You don't bleed very much off them, so it doesn't even look cool. They just stab you deep and hurt. Another one that this is a one that people would drive me nuts on. I would rather take glass all day long, like tubes, tons of tubes, than get hit with a kendo stick in my back.
Mm.
I think kendo sticks are the bane of the earth, and they are miserable to take, especially on bare skin where it will pinch you. That is far more painful than glass any day.
Wow, I wouldn't have even thought of that. Dimitri, thank you so much for coming on the show
Of
today.
course.
So happy to have you on. Sort of pleasure to have you on today. Any upcoming matches or anything you want to promote before we leave tonight?
Yes, absolutely. Obviously, I am making my ICW No Holds Bar debut in the Chains next week, both nights in Chattanooga. I will be taking on once again
Mm.
Dr. Redacted on the first night, and then the second night I'll be in a triple threat match for number one contendership at the America's Deathmatch Championship with Otis Kogar and Bobby Beverly, the Bev.
Mm.
That's really cool for me happening. This upcoming weekend, though, I am defending the Wrestle Rave World Deathmatch title against Matt Locke, a guy I've had numerous run-ins with in the past, and I'm really excited to go once again with him in there. When in May, I just have numerous events. I'm getting ready to do a charity show for some dogs on the side of for Borracho Pro. They're doing a show on the May 10th, and I'm really excited to be helping out with a adoption and service for them.
Oh,
It's the
decent.
duality. It's the duality of me being really violent, but also loving animals out there. So I'm really happy to get to do that. And then I'm also debuting for Horror Slam at the end of the month of May, which that one will be interesting. I've never been to Detroit, so we'll see how that goes. But yeah, those are the ones immediately coming up. Just look it out. More stuff's coming. I just can't say it yet. So I'm really excited for what I can though, and I'm really glad you had me on the show. Thank you for having me. It was so
No
awesome,
problem.
man.
But yeah, stay on the line. We'll do a proper goodbye in a moment while we just wrap up this video. Guys,
Sure.
another amazing interview on the channel. I will link everything Dimitri Alexandrov on the in the description box down below. We'll link him to those t-shirts. Remember, when he sends you those t-shirts, they are coming from the man himself. So yeah, we'll definitely check out those. But obviously, look after each other, guys. Leave a like down below, comment, and subscribe to this channel. We got plenty more interviews coming your way soon. But as always, guys, look after each other, and we'll see you guys soon. Bye, guys.